Okay, conservatives, you don't understand why I feel so much sadness, anger, frustration, and even hostility towards people who vote for Trump. In 2024, how is that possible? How can you not understand the suffering you have inflicted on so many people? You've decimated boundaries on behavior that no sane person should engage in. If you have any humanity left, then it's up to you to find out how much harm you represent to the people you're going to screw over if you vote Republican. And at some point, you're going to have to realize you're one of the people you're screwing. Especially if you're a woman. Please try to listen to me if you're a woman. Think back to when Schlumper was running for president in 2016, back when his campaign was the first time we'd seen that kind of assholery, that kind of open misogyny, racism, bigotry, cruelty, and nastiness coming from a presidential candidate. Remember when all of that was still new? When folks were still pretending they believed in Jesus, but they were starting to inch closer to the sanctioned bigotry? When American kids were clocking all the ways they'd been told to behave with kindness and dignity, but that all seemed to be out the window? When the decent Americans still thought the electorate would surely reject a man who talked about grabbing women by the pussy? Remember that far back? And then half the country, with a good nudge from Russian disinformation, voted to see what happened with the TV guy. Well, guess what, conservatives? Even after all that, so many liberals like me still tried to give Republican voters the benefit of the doubt. We leaned in to try to understand the economic uncertainty that red state folks must be certainly experiencing to drive them to vote for a tumor. We held out as long as possible to give the Republican electorate credit. We didn't want to believe it was possible that so many people voted for Trump because they'd been in an apoplectic fit of racism for 8 years. We still thought surely they wouldn't want their children to learn from this monster. Of course parents would see how insidious that would be. And then pretty quickly it became all too clear that Republicans weren't worried about lowering societal standards to the level of 8-year-olds with attachment issues who like to beat up their friends and enemies. We had to accept the reality that this was about entertainment, and that folks who raged for years over the dominant race losing the greatest office of the land to a brown person were entirely hypnotized by the vengeance and daily carnage Trump churned out. The right was so mesmerized by all the cameos of people getting hurt and cisgender white people enjoying doing the hurting that they didn't even pause to consider the long-term implications. It was like watching the return of public executions. The spectacle of stoning or flogging or humiliating people in the public square turned everyone into a fucking monster. And those of us who have loved ones who happen to be the kinds of people being harmed watched our fellow man stop feeling at all like our fellow man. Full stop. It took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that the people on the right were voting via hatred, anger, resentment, cruelty, and religious narcissism. That was hard to accept. And it's been proven over and over and over. Go to Truth Social right now and read your leader's words. There's really nothing to say beyond that. There is no way to justify supporting a person who behaves like that. I mean, look at it from our perspective. You went from George Bush to a pathologically sociopathic, narcissistic rapist. Yes, it is proven by a jury. And come on, for the sake of your children, don't gaslight them into believing a man who says he grabs women by the pussy isn't a predator. What are you doing to kids by expecting them to believe that? They know you're lying. You wonder why liberals have so much disrespect for MAGA, but you have no concern for how blatantly you broke the social contract to not be awful humans. Awful humans would rather children unalive themselves than get medical care they need. Awful humans deny science and let their loved ones die when they could so easily save them. You think your kids are going to be glad you didn't believe in climate change when they lose their homes not once but twice in their lifetimes? You think your kids feel like you care when you treat them like fucking target practice dummies in the name of Rambo fantasies for the alphas? No other nation lets kids be slaughtered like America. Women are bleeding out in parking lots, being prosecuted for miscarriage, being forced to give birth to babies they can't possibly support. And your side wants them to pay for their own school lunch? That's inhuman. Your dear leader rolled back women's rights 50 years. When Dobbs got killed, your side said killing IVF would never happen. Okay. And next is birth control, and then your side will come for recreational sex and gay marriage and interracial marriage, gay sex and interracial sex, interracial parenting and interreligious relationships. Trans and gay people will be gone or closeted. No-fault divorce, gone. Social Security, gone. Medicaid, decimated. They'll have to fan out and target disabled people, autistic people, people with any physical or emotional differences that deviate from the average white Christian, Republican, liberal-hating, cisgender, hetero man. When your brand is built on oppression, you've got to keep coming up with groups to oppress. So yeah, I have a few reasons to be hostile towards voters who are happy to royally fuck with so many people for just a little bit of entertainment and a good dose of vengeance. People might say I'm never going to woo those voters back if I'm so hostile towards them. And to that I say I'm fresh out of empathy and compassion. I can't extend any of that anymore because at a certain point that's like showing up to make friends with people you know for sure would harm your family. Yeah, that doesn't make me want to become besties or even extend the benefit of the doubt. If you're voting Trump, you should know what you're doing. And even if you don't, you're still complicit in the bullying. So don't tell me this is politics as usual. This kind of assault on democracy is not both sidesy. Own it. You are marching us toward a degraded, dangerous, dehumanized society. And the fallout from all of this will impact generations to come. Yeah, conservatives, it's time to wake the fuck up and realize what you're doing. And then have the day that you deserve. Yeah.